I am, as you know, a book author, book publisher, that kind of thing. I do my blogging, have since a long time. And now I am joined by my friend Hugh McGuire, also Media Hacks alum Hugh McGuire, sporting his Movember famous look now. And you were talking to me about Pressbooks, which is a new publishing platform that rides on top of WordPress that allows people to do their own digital publishing. Can you get just a little bit into the meat of that in a way that doesn't make us all scratch our heads?
Sure. So we started a couple of years ago with another product that I think we talked about once called Book Oven, and we were building basically a digital book publishing platform that would allow people to collaborate on books. And we were doing that all from scratch, and it was too big and too complicated and too expensive to get that done. And I had this moment of revelation where I thought, I enjoy using WordPress for the core of what has to happen in a book production process, which is getting text into something, editing it, and getting it out. And so I wrote an article for O'Reilly explaining the idea that actually we could build a full book production tool on top of WordPress and take advantage of all the great things that come with WordPress, but repurpose that sort of content management system for book publishing. And that would be a very powerful thing to do. Got great response to the idea in that O'Reilly article, and so we've since built it, and we've now just released pressbooks.com publicly. It's been we've had a lot of beta testers, publishers, authors, all sorts of different people playing around with it for the last number of months as we've been refining it. But now it's open to the public. So the idea is you build your book inside of WordPress. Roughly, if you're used to using WordPress, a post is a chapter. And then we export that into an ebook format. We do a beautiful typeset PDF, comes out the other end that you could put into print on demand. And there's also a web version of the book, which is kind of a discrete, structured web object that's a book that could be made available to the public, or you could keep that private just for your production process. So that, I guess, in summary, is what Pressbooks is. But the short answer, it's a very simple and powerful book production tool built on WordPress that lives on the web.
And you've already stated that the people who can use it, and it's available for free for people on pressbooks.com as publisher types, but also authors themselves. So any real aspiring book author who's, this is November as we're recording this, so I'm laughing at all the NaNoWriMo people who could also have been using this thing. I mean, if you'd only had it a few weeks earlier. But what you're looking for there is that they can actually have this platform on the other side of it, on the way coming out. You mentioned it really kind of quickly, but you can make a web version of things, which is the sort of obvious because that's what blogs do. You can do, but yours is a little different format to that. There's PDF, of course, but you're saying a nicely typeset one. So again, it's not just like writing a document in Pages on a Mac and hitting save as PDF. This is, there's some pretty magic in this, Cat. And also ebook stuff, and that's what. Talk to me about the PDF, but then talk to me really about the ebook, because what I liked when I walked through the pictures was like, here it is on a Kobo, here it is on this other thing.
Yeah, so the fundamental idea is that really I think it's nuts that it's more complicated to make a book than it is to make a website, right? I can't understand that technically. There's no reason that I see that the actual production part of making a book should be more complicated than a website. And lots of dummies just like me make websites that are beautiful, but we use WordPress as a tool. So that's the basic idea. So we take the HTML and we have a very complicated conversion process. We use some other open source tools to lay out a PDF, which, as you say, is a PDF that it looks like a beautiful novel that you would buy or whatever. It's a fairly simple typesetting that we're doing right now, but it comes out looking like a proper book and not something you just print out of Pages. And then the other side, there's the open standard for ebooks is called EPUB. And so we're generating an EPUB file, which you can upload into Kindle Direct Publisher. You can put it into Kobo. You can put it into iBooks. So the idea is really to manage that production process so that you've got a really nice ebook file that you can then sell or give away or do whatever you're doing in other channels. And eventually, I think we'll get to the point where we can plug that in directly, where once you're done, you could say, please send this to Kobo, Kindle, and wherever, and here are the prices. And so make that easy. But the principle is that I see no reason why self-publishers should have tools that are inferior to to regular publishers, and that's kind of part of the democratizing process here, is that everyone should be able to make a beautiful book, and it shouldn't be complex and complicated, and that's as true for self-publishers as it is for publishers.
And that's what drives you the most of all, I would say. If I had to put a little stamp on Hugh McGuire, the thing that I've known about you for years with your work at LibriVox and then Book Coven, which I've always called it, and now Pressbooks is, really at the end of the day, what you're trying to say is books should be so available and so easy to get and make and distributed across multiple platforms and not hooked into the rights management of some one system. And I think you've really successfully hit on it with this particular implementation, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the most important thing that a human can do is create things that they care about. And it turns out I happen to like books quite a bit. So I've spent a lot of my time playing around with technology in the last number of years around this idea of creating books. But I think that the process of getting the words that you write into book format, whatever that is, has been a very complex kind of thing. You've got to flow it into InDesign and use expensive software to generate the book out the other end. Same thing with ebooks. They should be straightforward, but they're not to get an ebook out. So we want that part to be made easy, so that the people who make books can worry about the important things, which is making wonderful books, finding wonderful books, marketing wonderful books, connecting people with books in new and different ways. And that's really what the idea here is to unleash the simple ability to make beautiful books for everyone, and then hopefully, see a flowering of all sorts of activity that happens on top of that.
So I can find out tons about this on pressbooks.com. Again, it's free to me as an author or even somebody just trying out the system. You're working on a different business model for later. How do I find out more about Hugh McGuire?
I have a website that I don't update very much anymore at hughmcguire.net, and there's an about there that tells you things. But probably the best place actually is Twitter. I spend a fair amount of time on Twitter, and it's sort of become my I guess, water cooler, like it is for many people. And I'm just Hugh McGuire, HughMcGuire on Twitter. So
super. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for talking to me about Pressbooks.
Thanks, Chris.